Hello everyone! So today I am here to do another Murakami book review, and that is on After Dark by Haruki Murakami. Obviously, I just said that. This was my most recent Murakami read. I believe this is my 12th book I've read of his. I might be wrong. It might be 13. I don't really remember, but I'm on to After Dark. So I only have 2 novels left to read by him, and then I'll be caught up on his novels that he has already published. And I am so excited to be talking about this book. So, After Dark is a book of Murakami's that I feel like I just never hear people talking about. Like, going into this book, I had zero idea what it was about. I had no expectations, and I came away that this was my second favorite Haruki Murakami novel. So, obviously, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars and a place on my favorites list. So currently it's Wind Up Bird, After Dark, and then A Wild Sheep Chase for my favorite novels by him so far. But obviously I still have 2 more to go. But anyways, this book I was just absolutely blown away by, and I can't believe it's not a book more people read and talk about by him. Because again, I think I've heard one person maybe mention this as like a book that they really, really love of Murakami's. And I was freaking blown away by this book. Basically, this book took everything I love in these kind of books and just put them all into this one beautiful little paperback, and I just love it so much. So if you don't know what this book is about, because again I feel like no one talks about what this book is actually about, this book follows a girl named Mari who is sitting at a Denny's at like 11 o'clock at night and reading this gigantic book, and this boy walks over to her and strikes up a conversation, and from there she gets met by a love hotel worker who brings her in to try to help a woman who speaks Chinese. Because Mari speaks Chinese, she's like, hey, can you come speak to this woman who has gotten hurt? So Mari does, and it kind of gets her wound up in this whole big thing. And on the other hand, we also have Mari's sister, Eri, who we are kind of watching in this super duper weird, like, she's asleep and there's a man in the room. It's really, really weird. But I loved it. Other than that, I really don't know how to give a summary of this book at all. This is a book that takes place all in one night, which is my favorite thing. I love when books take place in a day or a couple of hours, because it lets the author get so much more in detail with everything, and I loved it so much, and it works so well for this book, because this book literally takes place over, I don't even think 12 hours, I think 7 or 8 hours, and it worked so perfectly. And we follow the 2 timelines of Mari, who is helping this love hotel worker, and the Chinese woman, and kind of doing her own like exploration, as well as her sister, and it was just really good, and everything kind of connected, but also you're left with so many questions, and okay. Before I get into what I liked and everything, I must say that this was the most un-Murakami novel I have ever read in my life. I honestly kept going, I can't believe this is a Murakami novel, it just doesn't feel like him. Because going into a Haruki Murakami novel, I am expecting certain characters to appear. I'm expecting the unnamed male narrator who has no opinions and can't make a decision. I'm expecting the super flighty female character who has 0 personality and is literally just there for a love interest or like a conflict in the man's life. And then I'm expecting like certain themes to come up and just certain things to happen in a Murakami book, and none of those things happen, which makes me kind of feel weird saying that this is my new favorite Haruki Murakami novel after Wind Up Bird, because it doesn't feel like a Haruki Murakami novel at all. It definitely feels like a Japanese novel, because I have been reading so many more Japanese novels, but it just doesn't feel like a Haruki Murakami novel, and I don't know whether that's like a good thing or not, because I love this as a book, but as a Murakami novel I don't think it succeeded. But of course I'm reading his books in publication order, so maybe he's just trying something new, which I kind of hope he does, because this was an absolute breath of fresh air with how different and unique it was to his other works, because his other works 100% have connections between them. But besides it not being very Murakami-esque, I still absolutely love this book. Obviously, it's one of my new favorite books. But, beginning with the writing was absolutely fabulous, obviously. But, as far as I can remember, every single Murakami book I have read besides this one has been told in first person. It's always, I am doing this, I did that. but this book was told in third person and second person. When we are following Mari, it is told in third person. So like Mari was doing this, did that, Mari did this. And then the parts with Eri and the man with no face, or the man with no mask, or I can't remember what his name was. It is told like we are watching him do this, we are watching it do that, we are watching this. And it kind of made it almost feel like you were watching, like you were in the book, and you were kind of watching from the outside, which I usually hate second person in books, but this one, it just really, really worked to give it that weird atmosphere, strange quality to it that I ended up loving in this book so much. Also, these characters were fantastic. One of my biggest criticisms of Haruki Murakami, and the reason I can totally understand why people don't like him, is his characters are all exactly the same, to the point where I think the unnamed narrator and Toru Okada are the same person, but like, that's a different story. So that is one thing that I can totally understand people not enjoying Murakami books. Like I said, you expect certain characters going into his books, and you got just amazing book characters in this one. We have Mari, who is like an independent girl. She speaks Chinese mostly rather than Japanese. We meet a love hotel worker who is not afraid of the fact that she's not super feminine. She's an extremely masculine male. Then we have Eri, who is like the sleeping beauty kind of the book. And then we have what's his name? Takahashi, who was the main male, who wasn't just there as a love interest or as a undecisive piece of crap. Sorry. I do love the unnamed narrator and Toru Okada, but they can be kind of annoying. And then we also meet Shirakawa, who I still don't really know the point that he plays, but he's a married man who is cheating on his wife throughout this book. But he definitely has some connection to something. I'm just still trying to figure it out. But basically, the characters in this book are just incredibly unique and fleshed out and different from the rest of Haruki Murakami's characters, which I really, really appreciated. The plot was also completely new. Murakami books usually fall into two categories. His weird love romance books that he's most famous for, like Norwegian Wood and Sputnik Sweetheart, or just a what the actual fuck did I just read kind of book like When a Bird Chronicle or Kafka on the Shore. This book was kind of a beautiful balance of both. We kind of get the, not like love romance thing, but we get a contemporary setting and story with a lot of magical realism mixed in. But also we kind of get a retelling. This is sort of a take on Sleeping Beauty. As weird as that sounds, Murakami doing a retelling, but it is kind of a Sleeping Beauty retelling. And all of those things just came together and it was so good. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh, this isn't following the archetype that Murakami has set up for himself. It's completely new. I also really liked how this book connected so well. Like, I feel like a lot of Murakami books like kind of have interweaving webs, like Kafka on the Shore is a very good example. And he does fantastic with that, and this book was no exception. It was so good. Now, I don't know if this is really a spoiler or not, but it was something that I enjoyed, so I'll just put my hand up and just, if you want to hear, it's kind of spoilery, but like not really. I loved how this book was not a fully closed story. I am a very big fan of open endings. I know some people absolutely hate them, but I actually really enjoy them when they're done well. I hate the stories that it just ends abruptly without any kind of closure. This book, it worked because it's told in one night. It's told in 7 hours. So obviously there is going to be more that happens to these characters after this story ends. So the story is not closed, and it's great, and it just gives you an opportunity to kind of use your brain and think of what would happen next. So obviously I really, really love this book, and this is one of the few Murakami books that I can totally recommend for anyone. It's not overly violent or overly sexual, so I feel like most people of any age could enjoy this. So yes, basically, I love this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and put it on my favorites list. It's really good. Anyways, if you guys have read this book, obviously leave your, ideas and stuff or questions in the comments below, and I love y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye!